paranormal. It surrounds us. It's everywhere. Tonight, you will hear from the people who live and work within these highly active locations, all in the efforts to discover America's most haunted. With your host, ghost hunter and author, Dan Terry.
Good evening, boys and ghouls. I am Dan, your ghost host with the most haunted. And most haunted is what we've got tonight. Hey, I want you to see the shirt I'm wearing. It says, "You've made it as a ghost hunter when the ghosts know your name." And that's who I'm dealing with tonight. Someone that the ghosts are already very well familiar with. Cameron Bagg is a Canadian paranormal investigator and the founder of the Peterborough Haunt Club, which he said it's an old one. It's a good group of guys. He's kind of their inner circle. He looks for ghosts. He has had his share of cryptid encounters and spirits, of course. He specializes in spirit photography, believe it or not. And he had his own TV show called Hauntline up in Canada. And apparently it was a very good show in his area, big time. A lot of people wanted to come back. And he is the author of a book, which I'm looking forward to reading, called Ghost Revelations, Adventures of a Technical Medium. So before we go on further, let me introduce you to Cameron Bagg.
Good evening. Cameron? Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm glad you could make it. I've been looking forward to this. So you are a lot of spirit photography, but you've done a little bit of everything on here.
Yeah, I find once you throw yourself into it, you have to experiment, whether it's with digital audio recordings, taking energy readings with EMFs. But my main tool I use is I try to use digital point and shoot cameras. And for me, that sweet spot is, roughly between 10 and 20 megapixels is my rule of thumb. And that's where I pick up most of the good spirit energy. Okay. So yeah, I've spent a lot of years also hosting public seminars. And that was where I really got practiced at doing spirit photography. So I would have anywhere, 50 to 200 people lined up after an event, all wanting to try spirit photography. And to be honest, when I started doing it, I was more focused on getting paranormal orbs. I wanted to get the orbs around people.
Okay.
And now with experimenting with thousands of participants, I've learned there's a lot more than just paranormal orbs around everybody that can be photographed. And I learned a few things also. I'm sorry if I digressed a bit here, but
no, go right ahead.
Believe it or not, laughter seems to be the spirit frequency, laughter and love. And when I would be photographing somebody standing up against a black curtain, and if they were grieving too much about a loved one, I would get zero orbs around them, zero energy. It was like a dead space or a void. But, you try to put your participant at ease, and I'm a funny guy most days, and I would crack a few jokes. And next thing I know, that little grandmother who was grieving the loss of a granddaughter, once she started laughing, all of a sudden, boom, 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 the orbs came in, and I'd start getting spirit orbs. And so that was where I got interested in it, and I worked more with laughter and just experimenting that way. And so how it works is I don't have time to sit there on my laptop looking for every paranormal orb as they come up in the photograph. I ask the participants to email me later that same night even, and remind me, say, my name's Cheryl and I was wearing a green t-shirt, blonde hair, So I go home with my camera, upload the photos, and I'll start looking for the spirits for them. And so I would start looking, and sure enough, I'd start finding orbs, and I would crop faces, and I would give them the critique. It's a man in a hat, or a
Okay.
male wearing glasses and a mustache, or whatever appears in the orbs. So it's quite fascinating, even on that. But then I remember one particular time this was my eureka moment, I guess, with spirit photography. And I'm enlarging the photos on my computer, and I'm looking at an orb next to somebody's head.
Hmm.
Then I recognized in the enlargement that it's not just the orb, that there was a spirit face next to the person's temple.
Wow.
So then I started looking, is there more? And I started paying attention to in around the hairline. So I've learned that we have spirits around us when I do this with the black curtain behind the participant. Using flash photography is the other thing. We
Hmm.
tend to get spirits hanging around our etheric energy, or if you think of having a white aura, they're in that energy field. So they tend to be anywhere from this side of your head all the way up and around your hairline and down the other side. And you'll get concentrations of spirits, particularly around your temple areas. There are
Hmm.
places, and that's where you'll get a lot more groupings of spirits, one, twos, and threes. And it's also popular to get them right on the top of your head. I find when I pick up children and animal spirits, a lot of times they're right on the top of the person's head. Um, and so that's really fascinating. So I can now take these pictures, and I'm guaranteed 100% I'm going to find spirit around whoever's in front of me.
Okay.
It's kind of fascinating, and I want to share that with people because it's wonderful confirmation to me that spirit is real, spirit's everywhere, and it's something that anybody can do. Anybody, if they want to test it for themselves, they could take their camera, set it up on a timer on a tripod, stand against a black curtain, take their own photographs, and look for their own spirits.
Hmm.
That easy, and I just feel very fortunate that I stumbled upon it. And as with most of my paranormal researches, you throw yourself into a reported haunting or an event, and a lot of the information you get is out of luck. You know, I've
Hmm.
I've been very fortunate with that, but I'm smart enough to recognize that no, there's something paranormal going on here. Um, so spirit photography is amazing, and something else I learned, because I'm taking a lot of photographs of many people at one location. Interestingly enough, I will have repeat spirits photobomb the session. So I will get, say, whether it's a man in a hat of some kind or a lady with a dog, or sometimes I'll get multiple animals. If the building was on farmland, it's
Hmm.
very common I will get cows, sheep, horses showing up in the energy field. And the photobombing spirits, that reveals to me that they're spirits that are on the location that we're at, whether I'm doing my talk in a library or an old theater. So that led me to my next discovery are these photobombing spirits. They're at locations wherever. So if you have a restaurant that's known to be haunted, you can go in there with your black curtain and a participant, and you can photograph them, and you can probably pick up the resident spirits in that energy field around the person. And I call this the human antenna, where we draw spirits to us. And then if it's a known spirit that has some sort of historical documentation, photographs, an eyewitness has seen it, then you can take the image that you've gotten in the person's aura and compare it with the photograph of the known spirit. So it's
Okay.
wonderful validation. And I'm excited because I'm going to Scotland this year.
Oh,
I'm going
wow.
to be bringing my little black curtain and all my camera gear. And every castle, every graveyard I go to, and these cemeteries and castles have a long history and documented hauntings.
Hmm.
My poor wife, I'm going to have her be my participant. She'll be my human antenna, and we're going to be photographing at every stop. We'll take a few pictures like that to see if we can validate the known spirits that are haunting these locations. So it's exciting. I love
Yeah.
spirit photography, and I try to share it with everybody because again, it is so simple to do.
Hmm. I gotta say, I like what you're saying about orbs. You know how most ghost hunters will tell you 99.9% of them is dust and moisture. But I've got so many photos of them setting off K2 meters, of them uh, being around somebody and then the meter goes off, or the rods go off as it crosses them. There's more to orbs, and I'm not saying they're all spirits. I'm sure a lot of them are dust and moisture, but there's more to it than that.
Definitely, I call the like skeptics or materialists will tend to say it's pollen, dust, water,
Sure.
whatever, insects. And I mean, myself, I hate seeing a winged mosquito eater bug
Yeah.
that some psychic or a ghost hunter tries to tell you it's a fairy. I get kind
Yeah.
of upset with
Seen
that
that too.
myself. But how my rule of thumb with orbs, it's like the nuclear is the consciousness,
Mhm.
and it's pretty tight and compact, and the energy is always moving very fast. And if you want to see them, you really have to use flash photography, I think, and you'll get an image frozen. And I have a photograph here. Can I share with you?
Oh,
It's an
sure.
orb picture. Might be able
Please.
to see it here on the camera. I got this photograph at a haunted castle in Canada, and
Okay.
it was very exciting to me to get this. It's a woman standing up on a balcony, and she was just there, and I thought, well, that's a really clear orb. So I
Uh-huh.
printed it and I stuck it in this frame, and then I dropped it and I picked it up. But when I picked it up the other way, and it's now a woman, an older woman, looking in another direction.
Okay.
So it's a little hard to see there, but um, these orbs, they're like WinZip paranormal files. So they have a lot of information in them, and I believe they have many lifetimes within them as they're traveling around.
Okay.
And you will get sometimes like 5 or 6 images within the orb. So that can also confuse what you're seeing. But so my rule of thumb when I share an orb photo with somebody or somebody taking photography with me, you can only really count the ones that you can see eyes, nose, mouth, ears. I love getting the old guys with the goatees and the beards. They
Uh-huh.
really stand out. And a lot of your old timey spirits from 100 years ago, they'll have the white shirts on with a little black tie on. So it's fascinating. And so I have a very large collection of paranormal orbs, but I also have a large collection of dust and moisture and
Sure.
bugs, you know.
Cameron, if you ever get the chance to get down to Eureka Springs, Arkansas, there's a hotel there that was at one time a cancer hospital. And
Mhm.
all the orbs come back with faces. Almost all of them have faces in them. It's
Oh yeah.
incredible. I had never seen the faces until I was there.
Okay. Well, what maybe like I highly recommend for people to go buy a black curtain. Just for mine, we have a store up here called Jisk or Giant Tiger. It's like a Sears, and you
Okay.
just buy a black curtain. And all I do is I stick it over a door frame so it hangs down, and you have a person stand with their back against it at these haunted locations and start taking their pictures, and you'll be blown away by the images you start getting around the person. I think it's spirits. They're trying to use our energy to perhaps manifest stronger. And it's not to say that you won't get the odd manifestation of the spirit. Um, I get more. apparitions show up in photographs when somebody is wearing black clothing, so like a black
Really?
jacket. And so they're not showing up with the background of the curtain behind them now. They're showing up on the person, and they'll be more elongated. You'll see more of a body, not just
Mhm.
a face. So
Okay.
it's really cool, and I can't stress how easy it is to do and test this. For me, it's beyond, it's not theory, it's common practice for me. Some people will think, oh, that's a good theory, or he's got a crazy theory, but for God's sakes, try it. It works.
Okay. We'll have to give that a try on the next ghost hunt for sure.
Okay.
You told a story about how you became convinced of paranormal activity. Can you give that a short idea of it?
Of my first encounter?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I was rather inexperienced. This is back in 1988. And it wasn't whether I believed in ghosts or not. I just didn't care about ghosts. You know, you're a
Okay.
young man starting out. I was getting married, and months later, we're going to have a baby come into our lives. So I was just happy to be moving out of my family home in with
Mhm.
my wife to be. And so I moved into her apartment. It was up on the fourth floor. And I remember the day I was moving in, she said, well, you know, it's kind of weird. I've got this radio that comes on at weird times by itself. It'll come on and go off. I've got to get it checked. And I said, oh, that sounds weird. But for me, that was nothing. I didn't care. Like a little music now and then.
Mhm.
So after I moved into the apartment, it was almost immediately I had trouble sleeping. So I'd be in bed, and as soon as I would try to close my eyes, or the lights would go out, you didn't feel like you were alone anymore. You felt like somebody was standing over you, watching you intently.
Okay.
So I'd be laying there, and I would feel like a face right over my face. And I would get up, or I would get up and look around, chase whatever I thought was in front of me, like not without seeing anything, but I would move forward, and I would feel like this energy pull back into a closet, or it would perhaps, I would feel it leaving the room, leaving the bedroom. And
Okay.
sometimes I felt like I was being called to follow it, perhaps. And so it was kind of freaky, but I'm thinking, well, I'm just being paranoid. I'm in a new place. You know, the street's busier. I'm just having trouble sleeping. But then even more things happened. Um, I remember it would be about 3 times a week at least,
Okay.
almost nightly sometimes. I would awaken through the night. It could be any time between 1 a.m. and 5 a.m. And it would be the sounds of dishes down the end of the hall in the kitchen. It would sound like dishes rattling in the sink. Um, and when I would get up and I'd go to investigate, and you know, there you are, you're going down the hall in your boxers and you're expecting trouble, and there'd be no dishes even in the sink. Other nights I would hear a distinct sound. We had this kidney shaped marble coffee table,
Okay.
and it was very solid. And when you would put a glass on it or a cup, it had a distinct noise like clink.
Mhm.
And so there were nights the wife would be in bed next to me, and I would hear a mug or a cup being placed on that coffee table, and I'd run down the hall again. And sometimes I would feel the energy wasn't there. I might feel it's out on the balcony, so I would go and check. I thought somebody was trying to break in, and there'd never be anybody there. There was nobody making a sandwich in the kitchen and running down the hallway. So it was just, I don't know what's going on, and I wasn't afraid of it. I just felt, why am I? After we had my daughter, more physical things began to happen.
Okay.
This is months later. Um, oh, the ongoing thing also was, if whenever I was having a shower, I would always have that sensation of somebody in the room with me or somebody watching me. And I would throw open the curtain many times, expecting to see somebody, or even get out and open the bathroom door quickly. So little feelings of paranoia. I don't know what this is. And I would have been greatly relieved to have found the wife had snuck in or something. But that wasn't the case. So now going on to where my daughter comes into it, she's born. There's one day I'm sitting in the living room and I'm just reading a book, having a cup of coffee, and the wife was somewhere in the apartment. It was a 2-bedroom apartment. And I remember she ran into the room and she looked around the corner, and I looked at her. I go, "What?" And she goes, she looks puzzled, and she goes, "Did you just smack me on the bum?" And I'm like, "No, I'm sitting here. What are you talking about?" She goes, "Well, I was bent over the crib and I was fussing with the baby, and somebody gave me a good smack on the backside. And I turned around, you weren't there." And she goes, "I know you don't run that fast. So I don't know what it is." And we just looked at each other and just sort of shrugged and went on about our day. I finished my coffee, never gave it another thought. And then another episode when with my daughter, I had changed her diaper one day, and I'm walking back carrying her, and I had to step over her baby bottle. It was on the floor in front of us, and there was also a vacuum hose there, and it was a bit cluttered. So I remember as I'm stepping over the bottle, the thought was there, I'll give her the bottle. And as I put her in the walker, I went to reach for the bottle, but instantaneously it was just no longer on the ground. It was up on the walker. And I
Wow.
remember moving my foot thinking, I just stepped over that. That's weird. And so you're thinking this is strange, but I'm still not thinking ghosts. I had no previous history. I don't know how to line this up with anything. Um, but we'll get to 2 years now in the apartment, and that strange feeling of paranoia, troubles getting to sleep at night.
Mhm.
My 8-year-old niece had been visiting us and stayed the weekend, and we had been out, and we were coming back up to get her bags so I could take her back home to Peterborough. And we come up the stairs, open the door, and I hear a female voice say, "Cam." And I knew nobody was home, so I just dismissed it. I'm hearing things. But my young niece goes, "Uncle Cam, a lady just called you." And I'm like, "You heard that too?" And all of a sudden I realize I've got a ghost. It just
Mhm.
sort of added up and came together and made sense. And so I got her bags and just looked around the apartment quickly, didn't see anything. And we left and took her home. And then other family members started telling their stories of when they stayed in our apartment. And one witness described the phone ringing, and they answered it. And there was a garbled voice coming through, kind of reminiscent of the old fax lines, if you tried
Okay.
talking through them. And she said, "Listen, I can't hear you. You'll have to call back." And as she's putting the phone down, she said it rang almost angrily and louder and quicker. And she said, um, she picked it up, and this time the voice is really angry and yelling at her. And she goes, "Listen, I'm going to have Belle trace the call. Don't phone back." And she hangs up. It was a big clunky cordless phone. She puts it down, and as she turns, she sees motes of white light coming together, taking the outline of a small person, so about
Wow.
5 foot tall, roughly. And she was freaked out, and she yelled at the being, "Whatever the hell you are, you're not wanted. Go away." And the motes of light, just like in Star Trek when somebody's beaming up or beaming
Mhm.
down, boop 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 boop, they just all dissipated and went away.
Okay.
And then the woman went out on the balcony and smoked a pack of cigarettes and feared telling anybody that we would think she's crazy.
Mhm.
So the stories came together, and then we had a cat sitter that shared that she knew our house was haunted. She didn't want to tell us. She didn't know what to say, but she heard a female voice call my name as well. And
Okay.
where I got into, the ghost research side and realized how easy it is, it's just asking questions.
Mhm.
Decided to ask the superintendents about who lived in the apartment before us. And we found out it was an elderly couple. And the gentleman, he went to the Baycrest Geriatric Center to spend his last days, and he probably passed away down there. So we could picture him calling his wife regularly on the phone. And the female was the woman, and the superintendents, they remembered she was a very nice woman, a nice couple in general, but they said she passed away in the kitchen. They couldn't remember if it was a heart attack or a stroke, but very nice lady.
Okay.
And that was where a lot of the activity would be. And so she's living in an imprint, interacting with dishes that we don't see, but to her, that imprint is there, and she's interacting with it. And I'll just finish off where I believe I saw my ghost.
Okay.
Long story short, the wife and I, we were destined for divorce. So I didn't have a long period of time to investigate this haunting. But on the day I was moving out, I had my my truck at the back door. The elevator was in use, and you're just in your own world, thinking I'm loading my truck. Nothing really in your head. And all of a sudden, it was quiet, and I look up, and there was a little old lady standing in the corner of the back hallway. I'd never seen her before, and this was a small apartment building.
Right.
She was just staring at me quietly. And I just go, hi, I'm just moving. And she seemed kind of startled that I recognized her. And she just looked at me and just nodded. And then she quietly walked by. But it was just one of those, it was too quiet moments. And I can still remember what she was wearing. She had on a gray tweed jacket like Mary Tyler Moore would wear in the 70s, perhaps. And it had little flowerets, pastel colored, very bright, pinks, whites, greens, blues. And she was gone. But as she went by, I thought, no, that can't be my ghost. And I went to see where she went, and she was just gone. So she didn't go up the other elevator. She didn't run out the front door. She was just gone. Okay. And so I'm pretty sure that was my ghost, either telling me goodbye, or maybe she was out shopping. I don't know. But, I'm pretty confident that was her.
Okay.
And so now here I am. I've experienced this haunting, and first things first, it's very experiential. It's different for everybody, but I get it. I have empathy for people that are experiencing these weird things. But now I'm on fire. I'm seeing the world differently, and I want to learn more. So here I am. I'm going into my next apartment. My dad had recently died. I'm thinking I'm going to be talking to my dad every day now at night. Didn't happen. There wasn't a ghost in sight. And so I had to go and start going to haunted restaurants and haunted locations and reading up on the paranormal. And so it was a progression through the 90s. But things, again, really took off for me when I got my first digital camera. Those orbs, they just started coming through like no tomorrow. Film cameras don't get them as easily. If you're getting orbs with a film camera, almost 100%, they're your usual suspects, dust, bugs, etc. But the digital camera, it's really fascinating. It photographs into infrared and ultraviolet light spectrums that we don't see with our vision, but your camera picks it up, and it converts these unseen things that are in those light spectrums to an image you can see on the viewfinder or on your computer. So it's thanks to NASA. They created these cameras for the moon landings or space travel, and they would use their computers were rather big and cumbersome. So they broke them down to make them smaller for exploring moon explorations. And so we finally got them in the stores one day, and it's almost like 21st century magic in our hands. And they really do reveal, evidence of consciousness and the paranormal spectrum that is all around us. And I used to get some distortion in my cameras that I learned that they were portals opening. It was vibrating portal energy.
Okay.
So I learned to recognize different distortions. And also, I would pick up faces, which at first I would think, is this patterning, just, patterning man in the moon effect that I'm getting? But then I realized I'm getting faces everywhere,
Mhm.
not just in cemeteries, but in forests. Wherever you go, they're in your photographs if you want to look for them. And I really believe that what we're photographing through the magic of these cameras is the spirit, the consciousness background that's everywhere.
Okay.
Um, we're surrounded by it. We're a part of it. They're interacting with us all the time. And to be honest, now photographing paranormal beings, it's like shooting fish in a barrel. As long as I have a camera, I'm going to get evidence.
Okay. Cameron, I'm going to have to stop you here for just a couple of minutes for a commercial break. I didn't want to
Okay,
stop you earlier because I was really enjoying the story and learning about it. But hang loose for a minute and I'll be right back. Okay.
sure thing.
All right. So that is pretty cool. And I love the story about, the female ghost because, I lived in a haunted house. And that ghost, once he got used to me, was kind of the same way. He'd tease and play, but he never meant any harm. And in fact, I know at least on 2 occasions he threw out a ghost that came home with us from other places. So it's a neat story, and I like that. I got some pictures we're going to show you here in a few minutes, folks. But first off, I want you to watch this, and I'll be right back.
The new book, How to Research a Haunted House by paranormal investigator Margie Kay and professional researcher Violet Wisdom, is now available from Unex Media. This one-of-a-kind book explains how to do research on a house with uncommon methods and resources used by historic home researchers, and how to determine who may be doing the haunting and why. How to research a haunted house can be used by homeowners, renters, investors, and it should be in the library of all professional paranormal investigators. Get this unique book at unxmedia.com or amazon.com. That's unxmedia.com or amazon.com.
Hey guys, just want to remind you about joining the Unexplained Network. We got a lot of shows on here. You can get into it more. You can see who's doing it, what the topics are, and good stuff like that. You get more information on some of the amazing hosts we have. We got a whole bunch of new shows coming out now. So you may want to jump in on here. Just go to unxnetwork.com. Down a little bit on the front page, there's a place where you can sign up. And for that, you get so much out of it. Again, you get the blog, which comes out a couple times a week or more, but usually when there's something going on, you might see it, I don't know, a couple times a day. We was right on top of the Tic Tacs when the UFO Tic Tac thing was coming out. We was on top of winged humanoids being seen all over, on top of the scientists and UFO people who were either disappearing or mysteriously dying. And aside from that, we got the blog, we got the newsletter, which the newsletter comes out once a week and tells you more about the show and some things going on in the paranormal world. But we also have the magazine, and the magazine comes out monthly. The one on the left there, I had 2 articles in, but there's a lot better writers than me out there. Haunted Battleship North Carolina was one of my stories in that one. And the other story was about Halloween and some of the legends behind it. And I'm not talking about the ghosts. I'm talking about poisoned fruit given to children. I'm talking about the idea that cults were out to kidnap blonde-haired, blue-eyed virgins and kill them as a sacrifice on Halloween night. And there was a lot more in that too. And each one of those had a nugget of truth, a kernel of truth in there. And that's what I dug out on that one. That's just some of the stories. This issue, I did a special one on haunted dolls. And that was tough on me, guys, because dolls just creep me the hell out. And the Unex Network magazine here, the Unex, had The Last Call at the Devil's Diner, which was a restaurant on old Route 66 outside of St. Louis. I was on the first ever investigation there. I did many after that. I did public events for charities where people got to ghost hunt that building. And about a year ago, it got hit by a tornado, and it's destroyed now. So that's what made me write that article. More recently, I've got articles on vampires. I've got articles in the magazines on the scientists, on things the U.S. government has done to its own people, conspiracy theories that were a conspiracy fact. And the proof is there. They've admitted to all of this. So there's a lot going on in this magazine, and you can get it emailed to your address, or you can pick it up in print copy if you want, but it'll be free emailed to your email address if you're a member. What are you waiting for? All right, let's get back to Cameron because I want to see some of the pictures he's got. I want you to hear some of the stories. We talked a little before, and it's some pretty cool stuff. Which one would you like to start with, Cameron? Anyone in particular?
Whatever you put up there, I can explain it.
Sounds good. Well, explain that one.
Oh God, that's a blast from the past, eh? That was from when I had my Hauntline show, and that was the telephone we used on set. And we would take, it was a live show, and I would shoot some community footage, and we did some investigations.
Okay.
But part of the show was also live in the studio. I would have a guest come in, and we would take questions.
Okay.
And you could ask us anything, so you're always on your toes. That was scary.
Yeah, that's worse than ghosts right there. I got you on that one. All right. What about this one?
Well, sometimes I use myself as ghost bait, and I took this photograph. There was a trestle bridge where I thought, well, that's a good backdrop. I'll just stand there and take some pictures, thinking maybe I'll use them for publicity or something. So I had a flashlight in between my legs just to give some lighting. So the man you see standing there, that's me. That's not the ghost. And so I took this picture, and I didn't realize it until later when I looked at it. If you see how the light is cast to the left, there's a being that's looking around the corner of the bridge at me. And it's got its tongue out, it's got pointy ears, it's got kind of, you could say, a devilish look on its face.
Yes.
And I had to think for long and hard about this, about what is it? Is it a werewolf? Is it a demon? And it's a type of cryptid, and I'm not 100% sure if it's a Wendigo. And oddly enough, like, I got tired of taking my picture here. I did walk up on the top of the tracks, and I got up there, and I have a green flashlight I use. And when I was up on the top of the tracks, there was a coyote, a big one, maybe 100 feet away. And its eyes were green, but I don't know if that was just because of my flashlight beam being green. And I thought, well, I don't want to be playing with coyotes by myself here at night. So got down, wrapped it up, got in the car and left. And it wasn't until in the safety of my home I saw that being overlooking around the corner at me. And it reminds me of other reports. You're probably familiar with them in the States and in Michigan, especially, reports of dogmen.
Yes.
So that's, I think, probably a very good example. And when you look at it, some witnesses have described that dogmen, when they've seen them, as looking like the Egyptian god Anubis with the pointy ears. So that guy has pointy ears also. So it was kind of a nice catch. But again, did I go out that night thinking I'm going to get some being peering around the corner at me? No. But I'll take it anyways.
That is pretty good, but it looks huge.
Yeah, it would probably be a good 6 feet. I'm 6'2", and it's on an angle, so it's similar to my height. It's 6'2", maybe bigger.
Okay. Well, I can see what you're talking about. I'm just amazed at its size. And this one.
Okay, this one. Now, I hope I'm safe talking about this, because I guess the dark side to paranormal research is I do slip into some abandoned buildings from time to time. And I liken it to the fact that I'm not there to vandalize or damage anything. I'm there to collect paranormal information. Usually I'm trying to get some shadow beings that are lingering around, feeding off of emotional energy imprints out of sight. And this would have been an abandoned prison. And so while I was in roaming the halls of this location, I was by myself and I heard a female, as if she was in a laundry room, hanging wash or working away quietly. And she was singing a song, but I could never find where the voice was coming from. And so I was done for the night and I'm making my way outside. And as I'm going up and about ready to cross, there was a white car on the other side of the security fence. And there were two men in uniform chit-chatting away. And I thought, well, I'm not taking any more pictures. I'm just going to get out of here. And so I'm crossing this open courtyard and I took the picture. Well, no, what happened was a voice said, take a picture. And I'm like, so I usually wear an equipment vest and I took my camera out and I always hold it at arm's length. And I took a picture and I could actually see that shape you see in front of you when I took the picture. And I thought, oh, I got something. And so I wasn't caught or apprehended that night. But anyways, I made my way to a coffee shop to look at it on the screen. And I thought, when you look at the top, I thought maybe I got a photograph of the woman I heard singing. It looks like shoulders with a neck, and it almost looks like hair up in a bun. But with closer examination, I'll point out, basically, you might notice what instead of being hair, those are two faces in profile. They kind of resemble the character Lord Voldemort from Harry Potter, skeletal type head, and they're in profile looking to the right. But what got my attention and where I realized something unique was going on was, like I said, I wear this black equipment vest and the shoulder straps have a unique way of separating. And I recognized my left shoulder strap on the white shoulder there. And I realized all of a sudden, these are two beings that are pulling my etheric body away and they're energetically trying to attach themselves to me. And if you look very closely, so that's my shoulders of my etheric body. I'm wearing my black vest, and that's my neck extending towards the two beings.
Mm-hmm.
And below them, in between my shoulder and their face, very clearly, it's almost like a flat image of my face. So they were having some sort of taste test, trying to figure me out. And I kind of wonder to this day, when I received that unannounced instruction to take a picture, if that was spirit or maybe a guardian spirit telling me to take a picture, and that might have broke the connection to these beings. So I don't feel that I've ever had a spirit attachment after that night. So, but it's a fascinating photograph, and it does make you realize there are spirits out there that will try to attach to you.
Okay, that's pretty wild. And this one.
All right, this is cool. A little harder to see, but center top of the photo, you'll see the upper shoulders and a head there. The head's got a good tussle of hair. It's got a high forehead. It's a couple of eyes, but that's a one-off photo I got of a Sabe, or a Bigfoot, Sasquatch. And how I got that photo is interesting. I was watching the television show Ancient Aliens one night by myself in the house. It was late. And they were talking about Bigfoot and Sasquatch, and they were throwing around a bunch of theories. And one of their theories is that Bigfoot is nothing more than they're not made of flesh and bone, and that's why you'll never find their carcasses laying around our dimension.
Spirit
that's
beings.
My theory.
Okay.
So I was all excited. I thought, well, that's the same theory I have. And I was really excited. And I was looking on their show. They had a lot of photographic images of Bigfoot on the screen, very dramatic. And so I was like, I want to see if I can if they're dimensional beings or thought forms, I want to see if I can communicate with them. So with those images in my mind, I was already projecting my thoughts out into the universe. And I called a friend and I said, how would you like to go on a Bigfoot search? And they humored me and they came along. It was a psychic friend and they walked the trail with me. I thought, I don't want to attract a Bigfoot into my own house. So we drove about 30 minutes outside of the city to a forested area, conservation area up near Bridgenorth,
Okay.
and got out. And I went with 2 cameras and we walked this trail that had a loop and it would come back straight to where the car was parked. So I went on the loop and I'm taking pictures. And so basically, I'm just walking and I'm sending out thoughts to Bigfoot. Hi, Bigfoot. I'm have all these images in my head of what they're supposed to look like. And I am just taking pictures one at a time, either side of the trail. And I didn't see anything exciting show up in my little LCD screens. So I got back and we're coming back now. And although you have the feeling of being watched, and I think that's my superpower that I've developed over the years, is
Mhm.
I've developed that sense of being stared at, and I know enough now to take a picture when that happens.
Okay.
So, anyways, long story short, I'm not feeling so successful now, and where the trail comes to a crossroads, I took my pictures, and about 50 feet in front of me was where I captured that image that you see on the screen. But I didn't see it until I looked through all my photos on the computer. And sure enough, I got this image of a cryptid, Bigfoot, Sasquatch, and blew my mind. Like, to be honest, I should have bought a lottery ticket that night.
Yes.
It's fascinating. And for me, I'm sure I cheese off a lot of cryptozoologists when I say it's just a dimensional being. And I feel that that's my evidence, as far as I'm
Mhm.
concerned, that it's confirmation they're a dimensional being. You can draw them out, and it's a world of thought. That's where everything is. Um, and by using thought and imagination, um, I was able to draw one back. And I've gone out there on other nights to try and see if I can put lightning in the bottle twice.
Mhm.
I haven't been successful yet, but I still feel lucky. Maybe another day. And when I
Okay.
go to Scotland, I'm going on vacation this summer for 3 weeks to Scotland, and I am going to try and photograph Nessie. Just for fun. I'll spend some time there and see what I
Okay.
get.
Sounds interesting. Be sure to let me know if you find anything. The last one I want to really bring up because this one to me is just incredible. Because
Yeah,
I'm
this
seeing
was
glowing eyes.
yeah, this was I've learned to look around the backs of cemeteries. So you'll get beings anywhere in a cemetery, but the darker ones, the dimensional beings, they seem to hang out if there's a tree line or a forested area.
Hmm.
So this one I got when I arrived at a cemetery with a couple of psychic friends, and I honestly went there in hopes of photographing a little female spirit that frequents this cemetery. So that was my intention that night. So this one surprised me when I got a picture very early in the evening of this being hiding behind a tree. And it resembles illustrations that I've seen of what's known as the Dover demon. So back in 1976, I believe, 76, 77, there was a rash of sightings down in Dover, Massachusetts. And the young witnesses swore on a stack of Bibles they saw a being that resembles this, with the big orange eyes, long, spindly arms and legs. And their images they drew, it was next to like a tree and near a rock as well.
Okay.
So a lot of these beings that we think of that may be one-offs, 1977, no, they're still out there. What does time mean to scary creatures with frightening features? They're who knows what time's like to them. And they're just not isolated incidents, really.
Okay.
So I got that. I didn't get the ghost girl photo, but I've got this one. And I've gone back there, and yes, it's a very busy cemetery. I've gotten also other images of. I've learned, like, the gargoyle statues people have. They put
Sure.
them on top of churches and in front of your homes. I've found that around certain headstones, some people will place them there physically, like real gargoyles, like concrete ones, but there's a being that is like a gargoyle, and they frequent cemeteries, and they seem to be around headstones. So they seem to be around wherever there's stonework, but they are a creature, and they frequent cemeteries. And I do have one from that cemetery. Maybe another time I'll share
Yeah.
that one with you.
Now, I've always thought cemeteries to be, and excuse me for saying it, kind of a dead place when it comes to spirits. Uh, there's
Um,
not a lot of trauma that goes on there. There's not a lot of reason to be there.
no, and I think you're right there. I think of cemeteries as, they're just places of interest for some spirits that they maybe will go to, just like, in life they went to Disneyland, they might revisit Disneyland.
Okay.
So if they were buried in a location, sometimes you get spirits that just revisit their plot. And I don't think they don't certainly haunt the area.
Hmm.
I've gotten a lot of spirit photos in cemeteries of spirits, and they, believe it or not, they're like holding dogs or cats. Like they realize they're being photographed, and they're almost
Hmm.
sharing that they're reunited with a loved pet in spirit. I get a lot
Okay.
of that, but a lot of the darker spirits, shadow beings in particular, they hang out in the background of the cemeteries. If there's a tree line, especially if there's running water, dark places or under the ground. And I do have photos of these beings. The witch shadow being, the hooded Grim Reaper shadow being coming out
Oh,
of the
wow.
ground, and they frequent cemeteries to pick up on living people that are perhaps grieving. They're burying somebody,
Hmm.
and that grief or sadness or chaos of emotions, um, they're looking to attach themselves to that energy. And if you get an attachment like that, they come home with you, and they'll try to keep you in a perpetual state of distress, that they feed off of,
Uh-huh.
and a whole lot of other things come from that. And I always try to tell people that, the best time to go to cemeteries to investigate is at sunrise and sunset. There's an energetic change going on with the energy, and you're going to probably get more spirit photos at those times as things are coming and going, because a lot of spirits don't have eyes. It's more, they recognize energy signatures.
Hmm.
And but so that's the best time to go to cemeteries to investigate. The worst time to go is if you're not at your best mentally or emotionally.
Okay.
If you're not in a good mental state of mind, that's the last place you want to go.
And why do you a week? Is that the
Because, well,
time?
if there is a nefarious shadow being um, hanging around that's looking to feed off of these chaotic energies, you're going to attract them to you,
Okay.
and they will come home with you if they can.
Okay.
And they'll just be very, very small. You won't even notice them. You can check yourself for, ticks and fleas, but you'll never see that shadow being unless you try the spirit photography. That's also a neat little thing.
Hmm.
People that have shadow attachments, when you do that spirit photography, they will show up as well.
Really? That's intriguing.
Yeah. And so whether it's the witch, we get a lot of witches around people,
Hmm.
um, the hooded Grim Reaper, the hat man. It could be any style of hat, even pork pie hats. Anybody wearing a hat that I get, I pay close attention to. And here's
Right.
something else you'll get
Yeah.
around psychics. It's really fascinating. I found when I do psychic fairs or events, I'll test the spirit photography with psychics just to see what I'm going to get. And around really good psychics, I tend to pick up alien images like grays. And some of them are quite comical. They'll be smiling, they know they're being photographed. And I often wonder if these beings are almost like intermediaries for that psychic information to come through to these psychics, because it's so common that I get
Okay.
them around psychics.
Wow. That had never even occurred to me. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So
It's pretty cool. And every picture I take, like I don't know how many thousands I've taken, I'm always interested in the next one because you do learn something new from every photographic sitting you do. And again, like all my research, it's always on a volunteer basis. I don't charge for this.
yes.
The only thing I charge for is when I do public speaking, because generally I have to book a room, do advertising. So I've got to charge $20 to come in, like to cover the costs. And I also get a chance then to do spirit photography for people. And some of the people that are really fascinating are the people that pay attention to their family genealogy. They're into their ancestry. And so when I say, well, you know, I got this guy here I've cropped for you. It's an old man, you know, he's fleshy and he's got mutton chop sideburns. Those ones I love, these history buffs, because they can go right to some family history book and confirm the photo with their evidence they have in the house.
Well, that
so it
is
makes
handy.
sense to people.
Yeah.
And
Cameron, I'm afraid the time has come. We're going to have to split up, but you said you might be willing to come back and show some more of these pictures you've got.
well, you can tell I like to talk about ghosts. So I'd be more than willing to come back, Dan.
All right. Well, we'll get you back here soon. All right. But
All right.
Cameron Bagg, your spirit photography, your website is CameronBagg.com.
Yep.
And you've got quite a bit of stuff on there. Some souvenirs, some shirts, merchandise, and you've got some other stuff, DVDs. So
Yeah.
how do people
Yeah,
get
my
hold of
big
you?
one is my book. I got my book now.
And let's bring that book back up. It's Ghost Revelations, Adventures of a Technical Medium.
Yeah, why I'm happy about the book is because I share my photographs with people in the book. So it's not just some old guy talking about something he saw. It's like, here's a photograph I got. And, you know, that's what I'm really proud about. I got that out of me after 40 years. You know? So there's a lot of photos in it.
All right. Cameron, thanks again for coming on. Now, if you'll wait just a little bit, I want to chat with you a little bit after the show. But thanks again, and hang tight. I'll talk to you in a minute.
My pleasure.
Oh, that was a fun one. And did you see that wolf thing? They're looking around. I mean, I saw it, made it out very plain. Same with that one with the prison in the background. I could see the shadow people there, but hey, I'm experienced at looking for shadow people. I've seen them a lot. So anyway, folks, my time is just about up, but I do want to remind you all to check out the Unexplained Network, or UNX Network, at unxnetwork.com. And I want to thank Cameron again for being on. I think the most important thing, though, I have got to tell you good people, is to stay spooked. All right? Good night.